What are some of the pros and cons of unrestricted land?
Unrestricted land. So this is one of the things that we get a ton of calls on, and I don't think people really understand what unrestricted land means. Unrestricted land means that it is not encumbered by covenants. So one of the first things you can do, you can build a house on it, you could put a double wide on it, you can put a single wide on it, you can park your RV there.
You can go hunting on it.
You can go hunting on it, yeah. Well, if it's not in town, but yeah, you can go hunting on it. So it just means there are no deed restrictions to the land. It does not mean that there's not zoning restrictions to the land. So there can be county zoning in the area. Most of rural land in Chatham County is zoned residential agricultural. So that means there's still a lot of freedom and flexibility. But if something is zoned residential agricultural, that doesn't mean that you can park all your grading equipment there. And people are like, "Well, it's my land; it's unrestricted." No, that would need a conditional use permit or a special use permit to park grading equipment out there. If it's your house and you're living there, and you own a company that has grading equipment, and you wish to park your grading equipment at your house, well, that's okay. But like people try to get tricky and have their supervisor live at a little brick ranch and then park 20 bulldozers out there, you're not going to get away with that. And the county is cracking down on that. So anyways, the pros of the unrestricted land is it has potential to be subdivided. There's no homeowners association. There's no architectural review, so you can build whatever you want to build. We have neighborhoods in Chatham County. People tell you what time you're allowed to mow. No one's going to tell you what time. I mean, there are no covenants, there are no deed restrictions on that property. So that sounds wonderful, great. I hate subdivisions. I hate homeowners associations. I am a libertarian, free American, and I want to do I want to hunt. I want to do exactly what I want to do on my property. Well, that's fine, okay? And for the most part, you can do that. But an unrestricted property does have some cons to it. And one of the cons that we talk about is if you have an unrestricted property, you need to know that if you're allowed to do those things, your neighbor's allowed to do those things as well.
So your neighbor could have a kennel.
We have a lot of things that we consider detrimental to property values. And I have 2 dogs. I love dogs. I'm not an anti-dog guy, but in my former life, I used to live next door to a guy that had 25 beagles. I had 100 acres in the middle of nowhere, but I lived next door to it. And the guy was like at least a quarter mile, a half mile away. 25 beagles are loud. I mean, it's just, and being next door to a kennel, it ruins your quiet enjoyment. But then we've had actual kennels come in next door to people, and everybody's dog is different, and you get a new crowd of dogs, and they're all barking at each other, and so that does change. We have people that put in firing ranges. Well, now that might actually require some kind of conditional use permit for an actual people coming to shoot. But if somebody owns 20 acres and they make a berm and they want to shoot targets, they're allowed to shoot targets all day long. And so then you're going to have, that next to you. If you have unrestricted land, you could be next to a piece of property that later on gets approved for a rock quarry, and that wouldn't be all that great. And then we have a lot of agricultural going around here. Siler City has a chicken processing plant, so we have chicken houses. Chicken houses, for the most part, are fine, but they are cleaned out several times a year. And if it is a hot, humid day, you will know the day that they're cleaning them out, because it literally smells for half a mile around. So, and it's certainly unfair for you to move next door to the chicken houses or next door to an area that you know is residential and agricultural, well, specifically agricultural, and then expect, this is how these people make their livelihood. It's zoned agricultural, and we eat chicken. We need the chickens. I mean, Siler City is processing the chickens or whatever. So it's unfair to move into these areas and then expect you have an unrestricted property, but you have to be aware that your neighbor is unrestricted as well.